What if the person you welcome into your home isn't who they seem to be? What if the nanny you hire to care for your daughter turns out to be the heiress of a Michelin-Star empire? Before we dive into this story, I want to know, where are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments, because it's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. Alright, let's begin. Ethan Cole looked like the kind of man who had it all. A successful architect, admired for his vision, respected for his drive. Tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to carry stories of their own. But behind the polished life was a truth he never spoke about. A truth that followed him into every quiet room, every sleepless night. Ethan was a single dad, and the center of his world was a little girl named Lily. She was 7 years old, bright, curious, with a laugh that could chase away even the heaviest storm. To Ethan, Lily wasn't just his daughter. She was his reason, his anchor, the light that guided him after his wife's passing left a hollow space he never thought could heal. He was the kind of father who never missed a bedtime story, even if it meant finishing blueprints at 2 in the morning. The kind who'd show up to a school recital, no matter how many deadlines waited on his desk. But love, as strong as it was, couldn't always fix reality. Balancing a demanding career with fatherhood was a weight Ethan carried alone. And slowly, the cracks began to show. The forgotten lunchbox, the missed school pickup, the exhaustion etched in his face, no matter how hard he tried to hide it. He needed help. Not just for himself, but for Lily. And that's when fate stepped in. Because the day Ethan opened his door to a new nanny, he had no idea that his life was about to change forever. No idea that the woman standing on his porch carried a secret that would turn his world upside down. The knock on Ethan's door felt ordinary. Just another applicant for the nanny position he had posted in quiet desperation. But when the door opened, the air seemed to shift. There she was. Sophia. A young woman in her late 20s, with long blonde hair that framed her face like golden threads catching the sunlight. Her green eyes carried something unspoken. Kindness, yes, but also a depth. A story she didn't share. Ethan didn't notice it at first. He saw only her calm smile, the confidence in the way she greeted him, and the warmth in her voice when she spoke to Lily for the very first time. Lily noticed it instantly. Children always do. While Ethan had been prepared for shyness, for hesitation, Lily's eyes lit up the moment Sophia crouched down to her level. They were laughing within minutes, as if they had known each other for years. It wasn't forced. It wasn't practiced. It was natural. Effortless. Ethan watched from the sidelines, caught between relief and curiosity. This woman wasn't like the others he had interviewed. She didn't just offer skills or references. She offered presence. A way of being that made Lily's small world feel safer, brighter. Sophia accepted the position, though she never spoke of where she came from or the life she left behind. For Ethan, it didn't matter. What mattered was Lily's smile, a smile he hadn't seen shine so freely in a long time. And so, Sophia became more than just an employee. She became a steady rhythm in their lives. Morning routines grew lighter. Evenings carried more laughter. The house that had once felt quiet, heavy with memory, slowly began to feel alive again. What Ethan couldn't know was that Sophia's presence was not an accident. It was the start of something far greater than he could imagine. A new chapter, bound not by contracts or expectations, but by a connection that would test the walls he had built around his heart. The days that followed felt different inside the Cole household. Subtle at first, but undeniable. Lily, once quiet in the mornings, now raced through the kitchen with bursts of energy, giggling as Sophia helped braid her hair before school. The sound of laughter, once rare, began to fill the walls again. Ethan noticed. He noticed everything. Sophia had a way of turning ordinary moments into something meaningful. Afternoon homework sessions transformed into games filled with color and creativity. Simple dinners turned into little adventures, where Lily learned about flavors and textures as if each meal carried a story of its own. And in the evenings, when Ethan returned home, tired from long hours at the office, he no longer walked into silence. He walked into warmth. Into a home where his daughter's eyes sparkled with joy, where the weight of the day seemed lighter, because Sophia had carried it with grace in his absence. Ethan found himself watching her more often. The patience in her voice when Lily struggled with a math problem. The way she knelt down, eye to eye, never rushing, never dismissing. The quiet elegance in how she carried herself, not just as a nanny, but as someone who truly cared. He admired her, though he'd never say it aloud. Not yet. For Ethan, boundaries mattered. He had promised himself to keep life professional, to protect the fragile balance he had built for Lily. But no rule could deny what he saw, that Sophia was bringing back something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. And slowly, Ethan began to trust again. Not just in Sophia's care for Lily, but in the possibility that maybe, just maybe, their home could be filled with love and laughter once more. What he didn't realize was that this growing bond would also test him in ways he wasn't ready for. Because love, as healing as it was, always carried the power to challenge and to change everything. It happened on an ordinary Saturday morning. Sophia had taken Lily to the local farmer's market, a place they both loved, rows of fresh fruit, the smell of baked bread drifting through the air, and the laughter of small-town chatter. Lily skipped happily at her side, clutching Sophia's hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. And then, a voice. A stranger paused mid-step, staring at Sophia with recognition that pierced through the noise of the market. Their words were casual, but heavy enough to leave an echo. "Aren't you a Laurent?" Sophia froze. Just for a second. Long enough for her past to catch up to her. Long enough for doubt to plant itself in Lily's innocent eyes. She brushed it off with a practiced smile, ushering Lily toward the next stall, pretending the question had never been asked. But whispers have a way of following. And in small towns, whispers turn into stories faster than anyone can stop them. By the time Ethan heard, the tone had already changed. People spoke of wealth, of empire, of a family name that carried weight far beyond their quiet neighborhood. The Laurents, owners of a Michelin-Star empire. Ethan's chest tightened. He replayed every moment with Sophia, every smile, every small kindness, now shadowed by doubt. Was it all genuine? Or had she stepped into his home with motives he couldn't see? He wanted to trust her. He wanted to believe in the woman who had brought his daughter back to life with laughter and love. But the memories of being taken advantage of in the past, the fear of letting someone too close, too fast, it all came rushing back. Sophia felt it too. The shift in Ethan's eyes. The hesitation in his voice. The unspoken question hanging between them like a wall. She had built her new life on simplicity, honesty, and the hope that her past would never matter here. But secrets, no matter how carefully hidden, always find a way to surface. And this secret had the power to unravel everything. At night, when the house grew quiet and Lily was fast asleep, Sophia often found herself standing by the window, staring into the dark. To Ethan, she seemed calm, composed, always in control. But inside, she carried a storm. The Laurent name was a shadow she could never fully escape. To the world, it meant prestige, wealth, and a place at tables reserved for the powerful. To Sophia, it meant suffocation. A life built on expectations she never asked for, on traditions that left no room for her own dreams. Walking away had been her only chance at freedom. Freedom to define herself, to live in a world where people saw her for who she was, not for the empire she came from. But now, here, in Ethan's home, the very secret she had tried so hard to bury pressed heavier on her chest each day. She saw it in his eyes. The way he hesitated before asking questions. The guarded tone creeping into his voice. He had started to wonder who she really was. And the worst part, he wasn't entirely wrong to doubt. She had hidden the truth. She had stepped into their lives carrying a past she refused to share. Not because she wanted to deceive them, but because she was terrified of losing everything she had found. Lily's laughter. Ethan's quiet admiration. The sense of belonging that felt more real than anything her family's fortune had ever offered. But secrets demand choices. Reveal herself and risk shattering the fragile trust she had built. Stay silent and live with the fear that one day the truth would surface on its own. Sophia knew the clock was ticking, and with every passing day, the weight of her secret grew heavier. Not because of who she was, but because of how much she stood to lose. The invitation arrived on Ethan's desk one crisp morning. A high-profile event hosted at one of the city's most prestigious restaurants. Normally, he would have declined. These gatherings of polished smiles and hollow conversations had never been his world. But this time, his career demanded it. An architect surrounded by potential clients, partners, opportunities too important to ignore. So, reluctantly, he went. The restaurant gleamed like a jewel. Crystal chandeliers, velvet-draped halls, and the unmistakable hum of wealth lingering in the air. Ethan moved through the crowd of dignitaries and socialites, always keeping his guard, always careful to remain just present enough. And then, he saw her. Sophia. Not in her usual warmth and simplicity, but in a gown that caught the light with every step, her hair styled with effortless grace, her presence commanding the room as though she had been born to it. For a moment, Ethan thought he was mistaken. That it couldn't possibly be the same woman who braided Lily's hair in the morning, who laughed with her over spilled flour in the kitchen. But the whispers confirmed it before he could catch his breath. Sophia Loren. The heiress has returned. The words cut through him. Introductions were made, formal and practiced. The daughter of the Loren family, heirs to the Michelin-Star empire. Applause followed her name, admiration filling the space as though her identity alone was enough to silence the room. Ethan's chest tightened. Betrayal stung sharper than he expected. She hadn't just kept a small truth from him, she had hidden an entire world. A world of privilege, of influence, of power. And suddenly, every shared smile, every quiet moment, every kindness, all of it felt tainted. Had she stepped into his home out of genuine care? Or had it been another move in a life built on advantage and disguise? Sophia's eyes met his across the room. There was no arrogance there, no triumph in her gaze. Only fear. A silent plea he couldn't understand in that moment. But Ethan looked away. Because to him, the truth wasn't just shocking. It was shattering. The woman he had begun to trust, the woman Lily adored, was not who she had claimed to be. And in that instant, the fragile foundation of everything they had built began to crack. The house felt quieter without Sophia. Too quiet. Lily noticed it first. The mornings were slower, heavier. No playful chatter while getting dressed, no silly songs sung over breakfast. Just silence, broken only by the clink of Ethan's coffee cup against the table. In the evenings, the absence grew sharper. Dinner became a routine instead of an adventure. Lily would push food around her plate, her smile fading a little more each day. Ethan tried, he really did. But no matter how hard he worked to keep things normal, the warmth Sophia had brought into their lives was gone. Lily asked about her. Again and again. When is Sophia coming back? Did I do something wrong? Daddy, why doesn't she visit anymore? Each question was a dagger Ethan couldn't deflect. He told himself he was protecting his daughter, shielding her from disappointment, from betrayal. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was punishing Sophia for a past she never used against them. And in doing so, he was punishing Lily too. At night, Ethan would catch himself staring at the empty spaces Sophia used to fill. The chair by the window where she read stories. The kitchen where her laughter once echoed. Even the hallway felt different without her gentle presence. And Lily, one evening, with tears brimming in her eyes, whispered words that broke him completely. She made me feel like I had a mom again. Ethan's breath caught. The weight of his own fears pressed down harder than ever. He had been so focused on protecting his daughter from hurt that he hadn't seen the truth staring back at him. Sophia hadn't taken anything from them. She had given them something priceless. And without her, their home wasn't whole anymore. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat alone in his study, the glow of unfinished blueprints spread across his desk, though his eyes never truly saw them. His thoughts were elsewhere. He replayed every moment with Sophia, the way she knelt down to meet Lily's eyes, the way she filled the kitchen with laughter, the way she never once mentioned her family's wealth or influence. She hadn't tried to impress him. She hadn't tried to gain anything. She had only given. And yet, he had doubted her. He had let fear cloud his judgment. Fear of being deceived, of losing control, of letting someone into the fragile life he had built after so much loss. But Lily's words echoed louder than any fear. She made me feel like I had a mom again. Ethan's heart broke open in that moment. He realized he wasn't just protecting his daughter, he was also protecting himself. Hiding behind walls so tall that even love couldn't climb them. And in doing so, he had pushed away the very person who had brought healing into their lives. Sophia hadn't betrayed him. She had trusted him enough to be there, even while carrying a name that carried more weight than most could imagine. And he had turned his back on her. The truth became clear. What mattered wasn't her last name, or the empire she came from. What mattered was the woman she was with Lily. The woman she was with him. The woman who chose love over legacy. Ethan pushed his chair back and stood, a quiet urgency filling his chest. He couldn't lose her, not like this. Not when he finally understood what she meant to them. It was time to let go of fear. Time to fight for the family he hadn't known he was missing. And so, with his heart pounding, Ethan made a choice. He was going to find Sophia. And this time, he wouldn't let her go. Ethan found her where he should have looked all along. In the quiet, away from the spotlight her family had built around her. Sophia sat alone on a park bench, the evening sun painting gold across her hair, her gaze distant, as if searching for a place where she truly belonged. For a moment, he just stood there. Words tangled in his chest, weighed down by guilt, fear, and longing. But then Lily's voice echoed in his memory, and the truth he had fought against became undeniable. He stepped closer. Sophia. She turned, her green eyes meeting his. And in them, he saw everything. The strength she carried, the hurt she tried to hide, and the love she had never spoken aloud. I was wrong, Ethan said, his voice low, unsteady. I let my fears speak louder than the truth. You came into our lives and gave us nothing but kindness, nothing but love, and I doubted you. I doubted the very thing we needed most. Sophia's breath caught, but she didn't look away. "I don't care about the Lauron name," he continued. "I don't care about the empire, or the wealth, or any of it. I care about you. About the way Lily lights up when you're around. About the way you've brought life back into our home. About the way I feel when I'm with you." Silence stretched between them, fragile yet full. Then Sophia spoke, her voice trembling with the honesty she had carried alone for so long. "All I ever wanted was to be loved for who I am, not for where I come from. With you, with Lily, I found that. I was terrified of losing it. Terrified of losing you." Ethan stepped closer, closing the space between them. His hand found hers, firm, certain. "You're not losing us. Not now. Not ever." And in that moment, the walls around Ethan's heart finally crumbled. He pulled her into his arms, not as a man afraid of being hurt, but as a man who had finally chosen love over fear. Their lips met in a kiss, gentle at first, then certain, a promise of a new beginning. When they pulled apart, Sophia smiled through tears, and for the first time, Ethan felt the weight of the past lift. Not erased, but transformed into something stronger. Because love, real love, was never about legacy or status. It was about trust, about choosing each other, no matter the cost. And together, they chose. In the end, it wasn't titles or wealth that defined their story. It wasn't the weight of a last name or the walls of a family empire. It was love. Ethan learned that trust means opening your heart, even when fear tells you to shut it away. Sophia discovered that the life she longed for wasn't built in Michelin-Star kitchens or glittering ballrooms. It was built in bedtime stories, in laughter over dinner, in the quiet joy of belonging. And Lily, she found what her little heart had been missing most. Someone who made her feel whole again. Someone who reminded her that a mother's love can be found not only in memory, but in the arms of someone who chooses to stay. Together, they proved a simple truth. The family you're born into may shape you, but the family you choose is the one that saves you. Because real love isn't about appearances. It isn't about legacies or bloodlines. It's about courage. The courage to be honest, to be vulnerable, to take the risk of opening your heart to another. And when that courage is met with love in return, it changes everything. For Ethan, Sophia, and Lily, it was the start of a new chapter, not defined by loss, or secrets, or fear, but by the quiet, enduring power of a family built on trust, on healing, and on love. A love stronger than legacy. And that's the story of how love, trust, and courage built a family stronger than legacy. If this story touched your heart, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I always love hearing from you. And don't forget to subscribe, so you never miss the next journey we share here on Heartfelt Tales TV, where every story finds its way home. Until next time, keep your heart open and your story alive.